All right, Peanuts fans. Now, I myself grew up watching the classic Charlie Brown specials. Of course, the holiday ones, Easter Beagle, Great Pumpkin, Thanksgiving. Um, of course, the arguably the most famous one of all, which I believe was also the first, a Charlie Brown Christmas. But I'm talking also the deep cuts like You're the Greatest Charlie Brown, You're a Good Sport Charlie Brown, Bon Voyage Charlie Brown, and Don't Come Back. The good old ones that would play on like Cartoon Network or HBO. Then they had a bunch of the VHSs and whatnot. But despite this particular character being introduced way back in 1968, aka almost 60 years ago, my boy Franklin finally got a Peanut special of his own called Welcome Home Franklin, which came to Apple TV, or wait, what is it? Apple TV Plus, I believe is the name of it. Yeah, that's the platform. It dropped February 16th, ironically during Black History Month. I watched it last night and I enjoyed it. I mean, it's like what, 39 minutes long, so right at 40 minutes, and it was really good because I haven't watched Peanuts media in quite a while. I know that, if I'm not mistaken, Apple TV has been keeping the franchise alive with a Peanuts and Snoopy series, so that's pretty cool that the new generation has more than just the classics to go back and rewatch. But I think that this episode or special was really good because it highlighted Franklin for the first time. Usually we only see him in the background, either with no dialogue, or if he is allowed to do something, it's just being the black kid busting out some hip hop moves, dabbing people up, things like that. But I did like the fact that we got to learn more about Franklin Armstrong. And to be honest, I never knew what his last name was until this special. Turns out the special itself was co-written by Rob Armstrong along with other people as well. So I guess, Rob had some influence on Franklin in his creation, given the fact that he was given the last name Armstrong. So, with that being said, the special itself, and I guess spoiler alert if you don't want spoilers, but then again, it's a Peanut special. This isn't a Marvel movie or anything, so I'm pretty sure if I talk about what happens in the special, people won't lose their mind. But it's funny, this movie begins with kind of the ending. We're in the middle of the soapbox car race, or soapbox derby, I believe is the correct phrase there. And Franklin is teamed up with Charlie Brown. And then their soapbox goes out of control, flies into the air, and it flips upside down. And then we freeze frame, and Franklin's the narrator basically saying, "You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation." So we learned that his father's in the military, and due to that, Franklin and his family always move. They're constantly uprooting from one town to the next. So he barely has time to make friends. And I think as they were packing up to leave their current house that they were moving from, Franklin, I think, sees like 3 or 4 of his quote unquote friends from the neighborhood. He's like, "Oh wow, did you guys come to say goodbye?" Actually, like they didn't even know he was leaving. But more importantly, he's like, "Hey man, I think you still got my basketball." "Oh wait, here you go, sorry about that." And then they just bounce. So it's like, oh dang. So Franklin either, again, never really had time to make friends, or the connection he had to these kids was so flimsy that rather than say goodbye, it's like, "Yo man, you got that thing you never gave back. Oh my bad, here you go, deuces." And then that's it. So basically they arrive in, wait, wow, I don't even know the name of, has it ever been established in Peanuts lore where the series takes place? Well, basically, he arrives in the neighborhood of the Peanuts gang, and he has like a book, like a journal from his grandpa that gives him advice on life stuff, mainly how to adapt to like new environments and making friends. So he tries to make friends with like It's ironic how it's Linus and Lucy. He tries to interact with both of them, but things don't go well. From him, quote unquote, murdering a pumpkin by picking it and ruining the patch of sincerity, and I did think it was kind of funny yet messed up. So he goes up to Lucy, who's reading like a comic book or magazine. He sees the little therapist booth set up, and he assumes that the 5 cents goes for lemonade as opposed to, her therapy session. So, he's all cool. He's like, oh, what do you have here? Freshly squeezed lemonade. So he like takes out 5 cents, drops it on the counter, and then slurps up her entire glass of lemonade. Mind you, he thought this was a lemonade stand. So basically he gets ripped a new one by her. So from there, he's at the beach and he's like, man, I had a bad day trying to, make friends. And it's funny because Pigpen comes up to the therapy booth right as Franklin leaves. He's like, what in the world? Because he even runs into Snoopy, pats him on the head, and he's like, finally. He's like, the first normal interaction around here is with a dog of all things. But then Snoopy jumps on his house, and then the Woodstock and his crew come, and they just do some Snoopy stuff. And also, I know that some fans of Peanuts talk about how Snoopy overtakes specials and whatnot, as opposed to focusing on the Peanuts gang. And I gotta say that this special did a good job with Snoopy. Snoopy did not overstay his welcome. He had classic Snoopy moments here or there. Even Joe Cool made a cameo at the end of the special. So I think that this special really did a great job focusing on Franklin and really his dynamic with Charlie Brown. The other kids, they have their moments. But if you're familiar with Peanuts, it shouldn't matter because all like Peppermint Patty, Marcy, Sally, Schroeder, they're in the special just long enough for them to do what's within their character. So it was like, yeah, okay. Peppermint Patty said this. She would say that. Charlie Brown, he's like the secondary main character. He's Charlie Brown. What do you expect? But yeah, they have a great time getting to know each other because they meet at the beach when Franklin gets his beach ball. So he the next day he tries to go out. He's like, okay, day 2, let me see if I can make new friends. He goes to like a pizza joint, sees all the kids in there. He's about to go in, but he somehow from the glass window he's looking through. Sally's ranting to some random girl about, man, and this one kid comes up to my therapy booth and just slurps up my lemonade without saying a word. And it's like, oh. So he's like, yeah, I better not go in there. I don't know if he overheard that somehow, despite the front door being closed and he's looking through the window. Maybe he can read lips. I don't know. But then there's a soapbox car that's flying down the sidewalk and crashes into a tree. And then Shermie's like, yo, there's a big race coming up. Winner gets free pizza for a year. So everybody's partnering up, trying to get, somebody to work on a car with them. Nobody is looking in Franklin's direction. Charlie Brown has no luck. Dude, Snoopy kind of an ass. Charlie Brown's like, hey, Snoopy, you want to be partners? And then Woodstock comes up. Snoopy's like, yeah. And then they do their thing. So it's like, wow, no loyalty at all, Snoopy. That's messed up. So basically, this is when the special really gets special. You got Franklin and Charlie Brown working on their car together, getting to know each other more. A funny joke is when Franklin mentions his taste in music, and he's like, the godfather of soul, James Brown. And Charlie Brown just looks, huh? And then Franklin's like, wait, are you two related? And that joke kind of comes back when he mentions how, I don't really know what I want to be when I grow up, but I mean, going into space would be pretty cool. Like Neil Armstrong. And Charlie Brown's like, wait, are you two related? And Franklin's like, that's a good one. So basically, they put together a soapbox and they go for a ride. As we go through the neighborhood, everybody's, working on their carts. And they end up crashing because Franklin kept telling Charlie Brown, yo, don't slow down, don't hit the brakes. But then they get into a situation where Charlie Brown feels like there's no other way but to hit the brakes because they may have crashed, but they winded up crashing anyway. And then, Franklin is kind of pissed because earlier in the special, he and Lucy kind of go back and forth at a, like a hardware store to get like the last remaining wheel for their soapbox. And once Franklin reveals that Charlie Brown is his partner, Lucy lets him have it. It's like, ha, you know what? You go ahead and take it. You're going to need a miracle with good old Charlie Brown, working on your car with you. So then after the crash, he's really pissed off. He's like, the lemonade girl was right about you. And then Charlie Brown was like, wait. What do you mean by that? This moment and one moment coming up, I was about to say, Charlie Brown was about to say the N-word. I was like, yo, I felt it like he was going to say it, and I ain't going to lie. In those given moments, I feel like Franklin had it coming. Because it's like, Franklin, like, you know what? Don't even worry about it. Charlie Brown's like, yeah, you know what? It's late. I'm about to go home. So Franklin feels bad, but later that night, he and Charlie Brown both wind up at the crash site, make amends. Like, you know what? I think we got a good chance of winning. Let's do this. So they get their car together. And keep in mind, they only had like that night to prep it. So the car, which looked great at the beginning, was really in bad shape, but it was enough for them to go to the starting line and race. Now, they actually have a good race. You know, you got Linus and Pigpen. Linus's blanket is like a sail. Snoopy somehow got Woodstock and crew to put a rocket in the back of their car, and they try to use that to get first place, but then they wind up gaining too much speed or something goes wrong, and they just fly off into the sky. We don't even see them until late into the special again. But that goes to show, like, even though Snoopy had a little bit of screen time, they did enough with it. It's like, okay, Snoopy wasn't in every single shot. It was enough, and I like that. You know, we got some good maneuvering. Charlie Brown's like, yo, hey, lean towards the side. Don't hit the brakes. I love it. It's like they had these little maneuvers. Meanwhile, Sally's on the sidelines being annoying. Sometimes I wonder who's more annoying, Lucy or Sally. So Sally like trips over a brick and a string that was holding an ice cream cart in place at the top of the hill. She's like, who would put this here? And then she takes the brick and like chucks it. And then the cart, because again, the brick and string was there to keep the cart in place, the cart just starts rolling down the hill. And then it flies and crashes on the racetrack. So there's only a little bit of space. Basically, like one vehicle at a time or one soapbox at a time can fit through the little bit of space between the hay bales that were the track and the ice cream cart. Charlie Brown and Franklin are in first, so they could squeeze through. But then Franklin's like, nah, man, we can't do it. So basically, Franklin's thing was, we need to take that cart out of the way because we got all these people behind us. We can make it through, but then there's going to be a huge pileup. So he decides to hit the brake, takes the car into like, you know, just a spin cycle, if you will. And then it crashes into the cart, and then their cart goes flying into the horizon, and they crash on the side of a hill. And, you know, Lucy and Schroeder end up winning. And the craziest part is, you know, Franklin's whole thing was thinking that him winning this race would get people to like him. And Charlie Brown, he was pissed, like, yo, we were so close to... Again, I thought he was going to say the N-word, but I'm like, you know what? At that moment, it's like, man, I don't know. I feel the same kind of way. But no, Franklin explains why he did what he did, which is a nice twist, because if you go back to earlier when they had their little debate after the first crash, Charlie Brown, despite Franklin, you know, who kept telling him, stop hitting the brakes, don't do it, he felt, look, we needed to hit the brakes because we were going so fast, it looked like we were going to crash into like a tree or something, versus me hitting the brakes and then we crashed, but we ended up in like the water and whatnot. So they both had reasons for doing what they were doing, despite the other person wanting it. It's like Franklin didn't want them to hit the brakes. Charlie Brown did it for their safety. Charlie Brown didn't want Franklin to hit the brakes, but Franklin did it for everyone else's safety. And I like that. That was a nice twist. So, you know, Lucy just swipes the trophy. She gives like an hour-long speech, and everybody's like, did you see what Charlie Brown and the new kid did? Yeah, if they would have, you know, if they didn't do that, we all would have been crashed. So they decide, should we go check on it? And I'm thinking like, yeah, that'd be a nice thing to do. Keep in mind, there were several other people that ended up crashing during the race too. But, you know, none of them sacrificed it like Charlie Brown and Franklin did. So Franklin and Charlie Brown decide to finish the race by picking up their car and literally like going to the finish line. Everybody's cheering them on. And they all hype them up like, yo, hey, you sacrificed so everybody else could be great, you know, safe and whatnot. And we appreciate it. Then Lucy gives Franklin his props, because I love Charlie Brown in the moments like, hey, you know what? Thanks. But it was actually Franklin's idea to, you know, pull that little maneuver. So I loved it, because keep in mind, the crowd was giving them both props, but Charlie Brown realized Franklin, he said he was doing this so, you know, everybody could like him. So he probably gave props. And, you know, Charlie Brown usually gets crap from everybody. So for him to take his moment in the spotlight with Franklin, to give it all to Franklin, I like that. That was pretty smooth. So from there, Lucy invites everybody to the pizza joint to say, hey, you know what? Pizza's on me. Well, actually us, aka her and Schroeder. So they go to the event. It was great. The highlight of the trailer and the special, when Franklin, is walking through the pizza joint with his pizza, everybody's, hey man, you want to play pickup? We got a pickup game tomorrow at the park. You want to come? Yeah, that's great. And then, everybody's like, either talking to him or inviting him somewhere. Also, he gets pizza. I ain't gonna lie though. Pigpen was the one that said, "Hey, here you go, Franklin." I would have threw it in the trash. I'm sorry, Pigpen, but I don't know that dust and shit. You probably like put some on that pizza that messed my stomach up. But in any case, he gets to the table, and everybody's on like one side. I think there's like one or two people on each end of the table. You got like Lucy and Charlie Brown and Linus and Sally on the other side. And it's like, hey, Franklin, we saved you a seat. Because Franklin, like in the Thanksgiving special, he was about to sit down on the side of the table where it was just him. But they invited him to come over. Oh, man, that was such a nice touch. It felt like, the writers are doing a wink and a nod to the audience for everybody who's like, man, how can they have Franklin on the table side by himself? I like that. That was really good. So overall, this was a great special. I think Charlie Brown even invited him to join his baseball team and whatnot. This was good. It was short and sweet. If you're a Peanuts fan, I'd recommend it. And a great way to give, props to a character who's never really had the spotlight, aside from being like the token black character. But yeah, I loved it. I'll probably watch it again at some point. This even inspired me to kind of go and check out the Apple TV Plus Peanuts media they have, from the Peanuts show to Snoopy Presents, and we'll go from there. But hey, thanks everyone for tuning in. Please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.